What is up, Purple People podcast fans? Welcome to this week's show. My name is Kyle Smith, and I am joined by the one and the only Kyle West. What is up, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you? You ready to talk some Vikings football?
I am actually. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you guys. I hope you guys couldn't feel the negative energy I was giving off last week. There was not a thing to talk about, but we have actual news, and it's not just one story that we have to muddle through. We actually have 3 or 4 topics today, and it's July 23rd. This is episode 399. Slick Rick and Morty. I'm going to change Ricky there to Rick for Rick Speilman, but I wanted to do something with Mike Zimmer, but I'm just not that smart as a pundit as Adam is with the show. But Mike Zimmer signed an extension. We're going to talk about that today. It is very, very soon going to happen, probably tomorrow since we recorded today. The Vikings wanted to mirror Mike Zimmer and Rick Speilman together. They really like that marriage, and that's going to be a thing. So they're going to both get extensions. Mike Zimmer's is already in place. The rookies signed their deals. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about training camp and watch a video on just exactly what the Vikings are doing during COVID to try to make this as damage control as possible. So we actually have news this week, which is good.
I don't know whether or not it's because of COVID-19 or just that the Vikings have nothing left in salary cap or what the deal is here. But this has been, I think, the quietest offseason that the Minnesota Vikings have definitely had since we've started doing this podcast. I mean, There has legitimately been weeks where there is not even a peep of a news story. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that's a good thing in a way because years past, it's been like, what are we going to talk about? And then the main topic ends up being someone gets a DUI, someone kicks a door down, someone does something stupid. We haven't had any of those stories to talk about, which is a positive. We don't want to talk about any of those stories, but man, it has just been a slow season for news in general.
Yeah, this coronavirus has really jacked things up for everyone. We can complain, but all fan bases and really everyone in the nation and most parts of the world can complain because it's really thrown a wrench into what we had planned for this year so far. And it's going to shape the rest of the year for sure. But I'm with you, man. There's not a lot. We've had to really suck the teat dry per se, just to try to find something to keep this show going. I like the extended weeks that we took off just because I don't want to be that show. And we've talked about it before. We're not going to knock other shows like Purple for the Win, Andy Carlson. I don't think he watches our show, but he puts out a lot of stuff in shorter amounts, right? We're not going to poop on guys that want to do that. That's the way they want to do it, and they're free to run their channel the way they want. We want to give you a 30 to 60-minute show as much as we can, pack it in and interact. And we haven't had that option this year, so sorry, I guess. But we're trying, man. We really are. And Adam's just dropped in. I left this up for a while, but this is Adam Carlson, our own guy for the show. He had plans. I think he's hanging out with a friend today, so they just stopped in. We were going to kick the show off. But Adam is our near and dear friend, so thank you for dropping in.
Adam had what? I think Adam had a power outage a couple days ago. A big old tree got knocked down in his yard. I think they're getting that. I think they're getting that taken care of this afternoon.
Yeah, that's kind of important. Might want to knock that out.
Right.
Well,
so before we get into Vikings news, really quick, just because it's a fun football-related story, did you see the video of Terrell Owens out there running around, doing a 40-yard time, racing some other players?
We might as well talk about it. We covered Patrick Mahomes last week in that mega huge blockbuster deal that he had that he fully deserves because he's just a badass quarterback. But yeah, Kyle is talking about Tyreek Hill versus Terrell Owens, and I'm not going to lie to you. He looks damn good, and he wasn't that far behind the fastest wide receiver in the league. And he's, 42?
Yeah, 41, 42. I'm not 100% sure. But
you know what it reminds me of? You saw him. He's obviously running in, leggings and no shirt on because he can do that because he's a super athlete, right? It reminds me of, when Brett Favre went through Gruden's quarterback camp, 5 years ago, and he's like, dude, you can still throw the ball really well. He's like, oh, I can still throw. I just don't want to get hit. So I'm there. 42 is not crazy. Tom Brady's still playing. He's 42, but dude, he looks like he could play right now.
Yeah, I mean, T.O. has always been a supreme athlete. He's always been in an incredible shape, and I'm not surprised that he can still go out there and run a quick 40-yard time. I mean, he keeps himself in shape. He's an athlete, man. So you're right. 40-year-old T.O. It's entertaining. It's fun. I always like to see that. We forget that just because football is a game for young men, and when you hit 30, you get considered old as a professional athlete.
Oh
But
yeah.
in the grander scheme of like life, 41, 42 years old is not really that old. So it's it's not that surprising that T.O. still looks like T.O. because he was a mega athlete. So of course he's still going to be in the top percentage of people just in general.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you there, and I know just looking about his history, I think, in my personal opinion, I think I put him at like number 3 all time. He's got the records. He's played in a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they didn't win one when he was with Philadelphia, but the dude played a Super Bowl, and this is where I get the most respect for him. Played in the Super Bowl with a broken leg. I mean,
He
what?
drugged he drugged Donovan McNabb to a Super Bowl.
That should tell you something. And I don't think
Yeah,
Donovan McNabb was that bad. He was a crazy cool, like a little ahead of his time runner, not as good as Michael Vick, but T.O. is a monster, and that's really funny. Like Adam, or I'm sorry, I'm going to keep calling you Adam today because I keep looking at his comment on my screen.
right.
But Kyle's talking about it. If you want to go check it out, just Google like Tyreek Hill and Terrell Owens and check that out because it's just crazy to watch. Like I've never ran anything close to that in my younger prime. And this guy's 10 years older than me, and he's still in like wicked good shape. So that's cool. You brought that up.
Stranger things have happened. We got Mike Tyson making a comeback to the world of boxing. Maybe John Gruden will give Terrell Owens a call. Maybe we'll see T.O. come back as a Raider.
I
Suit
wouldn't be
up
mad
and
about it.
play some football in 2020.
I wouldn't be mad at all if he did that. I wouldn't at all. And you know what? The Raiders would be a perfect fit. Just based on the history and the aura of that franchise alone. And you get to live in Vegas.
Yeah.
Why not?
Remember
But
when
yeah,
Herschel
Mike Tyson's
Walker?
coming back too, which is nuts. If you haven't seen
Right.
that, he's definitely has some enhancements in some sort of pill or shot form because he is just older and he's not going to be able to maintain that. But if you want to talk about pure power and still looking the same, Jesus Christ, that man is scary. He's terrifying. He's one of the most terrifying humans I've ever seen, and he looked damn good in those videos where he's sparring and doing drills with his coach. So they're going to fight in September, right? That was the date?
Yeah, something like that, I think.
Middle of September, he's going to be fighting again, and he's in his 50s. But holy God, that guy is terrifying, and I'm going to watch it. I'm absolutely going to watch him fight. Kyle's betting the over or under on this guy's life, and he thinks it's going to be the over. Like he doesn't think this guy's going to live anymore, which I would not be surprised if he knocked him into another universe.
Who's he fighting? Roy Jones Jr.
Roy Jones, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Roy Jones. He's also, professional boxer, as well established.
Sure.
Really good professional boxer in his time. So I don't know what the hell to expect from it, but it'll be fun. We just need some more fun in 2020.
Isn't this a cool thing though? Like I know this will never happen because basketball is different, but it's kind of like that old thing where I've always wanted to see like LeBron and Michael Jordan go at it. That'll never happen because we can't do that. But you get a little taste of nostalgia, and it's almost like bringing a time machine forward with these guys because it's not going to be like watching UFC fighters go 5 rounds for 25 minutes in their prime, and they're the middle to late 20s. But I just can't believe that they even agreed to it. And what if it's actually super good and entertaining? Like it's going to draw a ton of people regardless if it's bad or not. But that's going to be cool. I like fighting, so I'm really pumped that you brought that up too because I did it like 2 weeks ago. I stayed up till 1 a.m. to watch George Masvidal fight. So when they were in like Abu Dhabi and they were fighting on Fight Island. I love that stuff. So I'll definitely be tuning in for that. We can check in later and see if that guy survives or not.
Of course, I still think, I don't care what anyone says, if Jordan wanted to get himself back into game shape, I don't care how old Michael Jordan is, you put him in at 5 minutes at the end of the fourth quarter of a basketball game, Michael Jordan could go out there for 5 minutes and probably still dominate.
Wouldn't that be crazy if he actually was like wrote it in a contract and was like, I'm only going to play for 5 to 6 minutes per game. Has to be in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And it's only if we're like 10 points or less away. That would be nuts. Oh, that would be nuts. And I would watch every game. Absolutely.
There were some. Well, let's talk. We should probably talk about the Vikings instead of Michael Jordan.
That's fine. If we're going to talk about anything else, but we might as well do that.
Let's talk about Jordan. I always thought it was fun right at the end of his career when he was playing for the Wizards. When you go back and he was like, I mean, he was always Michael Jordan, but at this point, he's like established the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. And you can see some of the younger players around him just like step out of his way, just be like, and just like step out of his way. Be like, I don't want to foul MJ.
Well, I thought it was funny too. I don't know if it was on The Last Dance or where it was, but they were talking about it, and he actually said it, so it must have been on that. But basically, they said, why does he get to come out 5 minutes after they call everybody's name for warm-ups? Or they're doing warm-ups, right? So they let him come out in their jumpsuits or whatever, and they go shoot around. Well, they let Michael come out about 5 minutes later, and they said, why did they let him do that? And he's like, because I'm Michael Jordan. And did you hear everyone when you guys ran out versus when I ran out? I was like, I kind of respect that. Like, do you know who I am? I respect the hell out of that. So that's really cool.
I'm watching Last Dance right now on Netflix, and it's amazing.
Oh, did you watch it when it came out earlier this year?
I didn't have an opportunity to watch it before, so this is my first chance to sit down and go through it. And it's great. Even if you're not a basketball fan, I recommend it.
Just the production and editing alone on that was just tremendous. So I'm excited to see more. I hope they do one on guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady when he's done too, because I'll watch every second of it.
You betcha.
But Kyle's right. We should talk about the Vikings. I am on the Star Tribune right now, Access Vikings, and this is from a day ago. And this is from Andrew Kramer. So he's a well-known Vikings name. But 5 Vikings rookies, including Justin Jefferson, agreed to their contracts yesterday. This is crazy because I didn't expect this number, but Vikings on Wednesday, July 22nd, began what is expected to be a flurry of rookie agreements, which, the Vikings drafted like 13 players this year. So we'll see if they get all of them in. But Justin Jefferson was their first-round pick this year. 21-year-old LSU star wide receiver is signing a 4-year fully guaranteed deal, $13.1 million. He got a $7.1 million signing bonus. And contract value, like all of the rookies, was based on his draft position. Nate Stanley did earlier this month. 4 other picks besides Justin Jefferson were Ezra Cleveland, the tackle, defensive tackle James Lynch, who I am super pumped about, linebacker Troy Dye, and receiver KJ Osborne. So that was yesterday. I didn't know rookies got fully guaranteed deals. So
I have a quote from Adam Thielen on Justin Jefferson too. Adam Thielen said, "Fuck this guy. I don't want to work with him."
You're not Stephon Diggs. Go away.
Can you imagine if he actually said that? Like, what the hell? Like, what would you even do in that situation?
That would be almost as shocking, or that would be second most shocking as if Kirk Cousins said it, because he would never say anything like that. I could never imagine Adam Thielen saying that. That's so funny.
Do you think Kirk Cousins has ever sworn in his life?
I think he's sworn, but I think he really regrets it.
Yeah. He said, Justin is a guy, this is from Adam Thielen. Justin is a guy who wants to be great and is always fun to work with. Guys that are willing to do the things that they don't have to do to get better. I see him out there working every single day. I see him asking questions and trying to figure out the best way to play in this offense. And that's exciting to play with guys like that.
That's dope. The only thing that's going to hold anything on this team back and anyone on this team back this year is injuries. So I think after a plethora of busts at wide receiver for this team, I think that they may have finally found one that'll be here for a minute, that'll actually produce, I should say. That isn't a return specialist or only makes like 30 catches a year for less than 400 yards. I think he could be really, really special. It's not, and we all, you know this as well as I do,
Right.
and people that wanted the show. He's not going to jump in and fill in Stephon Diggs' role. More than likely, he's not going to do that immediately. But if he turns into that next season or the season after, it's a total win for the Vikings versus the kind of slop that they drafted in the first round. Like, I love Cordero Patterson just like you guys did, but he wasn't a good wide receiver. He's a punt returner. We don't even have to mention Treadwell because that was just a nightmare of a situation. But if this kid can just be consistent, I'm going to be more than happy with it, so we can get back to like regularity there, because for 2 seasons, man, we had the best wide receiver duo in the league, and it showed, and it was awesome.
What has me worried is a lot of this is going to be on rookies as to how well they are able to put in the work on their own and study on their own, and like they got to figure this out. This off season, man, is going to be a weird one. We can talk about what's going on with the COVID stuff. Coming into training camp, they're not going to have as much time. There's probably not going to be, I think they canceled all of the preseason. So they're not going to have preseason to like tune up and practice.
Yep.
So rookies are going to really have to step up and be ready once the time the regular season comes around.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because I did not add it in the notes. The NFL, and Pat McAfee spoke on this. We talk a lot about Pat. I know Adam might not be just as high on Pat McAfee as Kyle is and myself, but
I watch him every day.
Yeah, every single day. I love it. I love that show to death, and I'm super glad he has a platform to like entertain people because he just has the gift. But he said that it's not shocking that the NFLPA and the NFL players themselves agreed on no preseason, because he's like, we've been wanting this since pre-COVID. We hate the preseason. So I thought it was funny that they got to use COVID as the excuse when this was inevitably coming, like 3 or 4 years down the road, or whenever the next collective bargaining agreement was, because they're just like, I don't want to risk my season and my health. Like, look at poor Jerick McKinnon. I know it didn't happen in preseason per se, but 2 years in a row, we haven't heard about this guy, and he's old news. He's like a ghost now. And when he was with the Vikings that miraculous year, I mean, he was tearing it up.
Yeah.
So why do you want to risk that? So I thought that was really funny that
take an opportunity.
Yeah.
Take an opportunity and act on it. So I think after this, moving forward, preseason is going to look drastically different. I think you're maybe looking at 2 games moving forward, 2 preseason games, and I imagine there's going to be I don't know if you would call it an opt-out or a clause or something to where established veterans do not have to play and suit up in preseason. So you're just looking at rookies and your training camp bodies. You know, we typically bring, what is it, like 90 players to training camp. This year it's down to, this year I think they're cutting it down to 80 because of COVID. So I think you're looking at a thing where it's just going to be your rookies and your undrafted guys and your scab players that you brought in are going to get out there and suit up for 2 preseason games. And your Kirk Cousins, your Adam Thielens, your Adrian Petersons of the world are just never going to have to worry about a preseason game, unless they want to. But I don't think most veterans do.
Well, even that, there's the 2 things to that I was thinking about while you were speaking was, number one, you don't want to give away any of your playbook any earlier than you have to. People are going to watch film. And number 2 is, even if they break it down to 2 games, so you think about it, that's half of what it used to be. So most of the starters would play a series, maybe 2 series. That 3rd preseason game, they might play a whole quarter, but mostly they don't. Maybe it's like 10 minutes. So if you're only down to 2 preseason games, you might get a series out of the starters, and that's it.
And you know what? Maybe if they only do 2 preseason games, you get your starters out there for 1 series, you know, a quick drive or whatever, and then they're done, and you let the rest of the guys fill it out. I think that's actually a decent compromise on that one, because I do see the merit in preseason. I do think it's important for the young guys to get out there and to play against another team in full speed, in pads, in front of fans, even though they're not packed stadiums. There's still, you get a decent amount of fans who show up for preseason. There's merit to that. I don't think we need 4 preseason games, because even as a hardcore football fan, I check out and get bored by about the 3rd preseason game, because
I watched them.
The fourth one in particular is just worthless as can be.
They're so bad. And even,
Yeah.
too, what they could do if they want to spread them out and give people time to adjust, they can always make the 2 preseason games. They could always have them at they could always do them a week apart. There's nothing saying that they can't do that as well to let people heal. And I think they should do that, or at a minimum, 3 weeks before the start of the NFL season. So if you look at my finger here, if this is the NFL start, we do, I'm sorry, we'll do 4 there. Sorry, I can't count because I'm from the South in public education. So if this is the start of the season, and these
Right.
2 preseason games could be back to back, you'll have a week before to get everyone healed. So you essentially have 13 days or
I
maybe
like
more.
that.
I think that's the way they should do it to let people get healthier. But, dude, I'm with you, man. I never watch preseason games. I'll look at it and update the phone, and then I'll go on YouTube or NFL NFL Red Zone, and I'll see the touchdowns from them because they'll have a highlight. I'm not watching that. And I love the second string guys and the guys that are coming up,
Hey,
but I'm not going to watch them for 3 hours. I'm not going to do it.
the first preseason game is always a lot of fun because it's been so long since you haven't seen football that you're
Yep.
always just like, give me my Vikings. I don't care who it is or what. In anything past that, you start to kind of lose. I think you kind of start to lose the importance of the games. I don't really think you gain a whole hell of a lot out of them by the fourth preseason game when teams are starting quarterbacks that they know are not going to be on their active roster because we're okay if this guy gets hurt.
Yeah, I don't want to see any. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest heartbreaker, especially being a Viking fan. Like watching Dalvin Cook go down, Adrian Peterson go down, Teddy Bridgewater, all those guys. I don't want to see the guys get injured. We know that's something you really can't control, but that's one of the risks that you're going to take by not having as many preseason games because I do think there's an acclimation period of like full speed and pads. I'm not a football player, so I wouldn't know, but I'm just going off of what I've heard over years and years and years and just putting my brain out there a little bit to think on that. I think there will be a little bit of kickback there as far as injuries. But this year in particular, it's going to be crazy because COVID has just ruined a bunch of stuff. We can't even get close to anybody. And then the first time that you can get close to someone, it's going to feel like forever. There's going to be some adjustments to go along with that. So we'll see. It's going to be one of those weird years, man. We've already talked about it a couple times. It's going to be a weird, weird season.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch, but I'm putting it out there in my mind to be like, hey, anything's possible. Anything's going to happen because we have truly no idea. Speaking of having no idea, let's talk about this here for a second because I have it ready. If you go to the vikingage.com, which you can find here, our own Adam Carlson that commented earlier, he can tell you about stuff on there. He writes for that wonderful website. And I think you should just go support him. We should plug this at the end. But I'm going to go to the Viking Age like I just had up on the screen. And I'm going to share this because I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty important. And you can kind of get a little sense of what's going on and what the Vikings are doing to prevent COVID-19. This is about a 3-minute video, so if you're going to watch, I'm going to share the screen. We can finally do that now with StreamYard. And you guys can take a look here, and we can get that rolling. Let's go to rookies finally starting to sign. Let's go, people.
You want to pump the audio up?
But yes, there is a plan in place, and we got a first-hand look at what that plan is going to look like today. The Vikings will have a testing facility on site, and everyone will be forced to wear a mask. On top of that, individuals entering the facility will receive sensor-type technology that will help with contact tracing. The locker room will look very different as no two players will be able to sit side by side. There will be an open locker between players to help with distancing. Nearly all of the couches have been removed. The meeting rooms will now sit fewer individuals. The tubs that normally fit 15 players will now only fit 6. These are just a few of the many ways the Vikings are trying to do their part to keep everyone healthy. Remember, there is currently no blueprint as to how teams should deal with COVID-19. Vikings VP of Sports Medicine Eric Sugarman says the organization has spent countless hours trying to figure out how everyone can still do their jobs while dealing with the virus. He had a lot to say on the matter. Take a listen.
We have now a different, more impactful responsibility to make sure we do the right thing and to keep this virus outside of this building to the best of our ability. Listen, personally, I have confidence that we can do it. We have taken every step to make this building as safe as possible, and I'm hopeful that we can make this work. The team that does it the best clearly has an advantage because they will be healthier in theory. Obviously, we know healthy teams tend to win more. We have to continue to educate our players, our staff, our coaches, their families on the importance of this, and really not so that we can win football games. It's so that we as human beings, you included, when you guys are out of practice or whatever it is, that we can remain healthy.
And guys, there's more league news we need to talk about. According to reports, the league and the Players Association have come to an agreement on COVID testing. The players wanted daily testing. It appears they're going to get that at least for the first 2 weeks of training camp. And if enough players test negative, they will then perhaps scale back on that testing as training camp resumes. And training camp scheduled to begin around the league later this week. Rookie schedule report on Thursday for the Minnesota Vikings, with the veterans schedule report next Tuesday, July 28th. Kelsey.
Now, despite the lingering concerns for COVID-19.
Well, that was interesting, man. So I know you said you might have had a little bit of issues with the audio. I'm hoping that it maybe turned up at the end.
Yeah, a little bit. It was a little quiet, but I still caught it.
So there you go, guys. Whenever you guys get a chance to watch this, let us know in the comments later on YouTube how it was, if you could hear it all right. But, man, that's super interesting because I heard that COVID test is brutal, and they're going to get it every day for 2 weeks. You take a swab like this long and shove it into your brain from your nose and your nostril. That sucks. That is absolutely terrible. But
I'm not a doctor. I just want to lay that out there. But I worked with a coworker who had it done, and she said that it depends on how they do it. That they don't necessarily have to go all the way to the back of your brain with the cotton swab, like what some of the early tests were. So I think that maybe they figured it out a little bit better to where they don't have to do that.
okay.
She said that it wasn't that bad when she had it done. So again, I don't know.
Well, you know what? And in the name of safety, I mean, go for it. If that's how you want to feel safer about doing your job, I don't blame one person one bit. And I'm not going to tell them that they can't because I'm not the one risking it to do that. I work in an airport now, but we have masks, we have shields, and I can generally, if I want to, go below the concourse and stay the hell away from people. So that I understand completely if you're going to play a contact sport. But I thought that was interesting. I hope you guys, when you watch this, that you thought it was cool, and give us your thoughts, in the comments when you see this.
I think it's interesting the way they're going to be like, they removed the couches and stuff from inside the area, but it's like, wait a minute, when you're on the field, I know it's no contact, but you still, players get right up to one another.
Yeah, even on the field, if they want to really practice it, unless they're just throwing that out for 3 hours, they're going to have to practice social distancing on the field and spread out a lot more. But I'm guessing that they'll get tested that day and they'll figure out, okay, cool, we don't have it, so we can be in close quarters. I don't know, man. This is the whole thing. It's so weird.
I don't know how it works. But
I don't have a clue, man. I
do not envy Eric Sugarman for having to implement any of these policies.
I also don't envy Eric Sugarman because that background that was clearly on a green screen was terrible.
That must have been his built-in Zoom green screen background capabilities, because that looked awful.
Yeah, that was definitely mailed in real quick. But hey, thank you for the update. And thank you to the Viking Age. That was an Adam Patrick article, but if you want to go support our own Adam Carlson, head on over to the Viking Age because we get a lot of our news and a lot of good articles are written there. We hit on this last week, but I just want to reiterate, no fans will be allowed at said training camp. This came out on July 10th. It says, the Daily Norseman says, no fans will be allowed at Vikings training camp this year or any others, but we don't care about those. Yeah, that's not going to be it. There have been rumors, man, and I can't give a source, even though I'd really like to, about where I heard this from. But there are rumors going around that NFL franchises may let a certain percentage of fans in. I always thought that was weird and unfair because if you had to give out a certain percentage of numbers, it would probably go to just the season ticket holders, right? Because they have a stake in your team per se.
I would imagine season ticket holders get first dibs because they spend a lot of money for those season tickets, and
they sure do.
That's how it should work. They should get first dibs at tickets.
There'd be a percentage. I know that if they're not going to have fans, they're going to be paying. Sponsors are going to pay for those seats that you can see, like from the 50-yard line in the first lower section, which is so funny to me. It's just a big, huge advertising billboard at each game, which is so stupid.
You know what I don't like about that? That's a floodgate. You open that floodgate, and it's going to be very hard for NFL owners to go, we generated all this revenue by doing this marketing.
Right.
Maybe when we let fans back into the stadium, we find a way to do both. And then pretty soon we have like NASCAR looking jerseys.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I know. So I'm telling you, this would be very hard, very, very hard for them to backtrack on a revenue source. I don't fucking like it.
You just imagine all these Ricky Bobbies sitting in the seats, like a Wonder Bread jumpsuit.
Yeah. Or like,
man,
the Vikings helmet, but it's got it's got Verizon Wireless and Pepsi.
I swear.
GoDaddy.com, like right across the front of it.
Everything that you're painting in my brain right now, I despise. And I thought it was funny to start, but then they took the sanctity of my beloved team and they just commercialized the shit out of it, and I hate it. That could be a thing, but they said, there are rumors floating around that there may be fans. It would be a very small number. Obviously, they're going to distance you like 5 or 6 seats apart, but there will be people that'll go. I mean, I'm sure there will be people that want to go. There's a lot of people in the country who don't think this is even a real virus, which is funny. I certainly believe in it. I think that it's a little over-exaggerated a little bit in some areas, but then you have places like Florida and Texas that are like, we don't care. Everyone can die. So it's just going to be really crazy. I think in the name of safety, they probably should hold off. Or if you really wanted to hold everyone back, there's also the way you could push the season back a couple of months. But I think we need sports, man. I think we need that back in our lives.
Pretty much the only team that's not going to be affected by this will be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And the Chargers.
The Chargers, who couldn't sell out their stadiums to begin with. So the whole, like, one fan every 6 feet is generally what they've been doing anyway. So, they'll be fine.
That's the most savage thing that I heard last week. Peyton Manning said, I wouldn't know what it's like to play without fans. You should ask the Chargers. I love Peyton Manning so much. That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the main topic today. This is not a Mike Zimmer named episode, but it is for Mike Zimmer. But like I said to start the show, Slick Rick for Rick Speilman, his deal will soon follow. That is the rumor in Twitter world. And what was said on other Viking podcasts, like I listened to one this morning, Locked On, which I really enjoy. And the rumor there was this was the main topic, but it was that Rick Speilman's contract was soon to follow after Mr. Mike Zimmer got an extension. So let's find the details of that. But this shows Mike Zimmer is beloved by the Wilfs, and they also like what Rick Speilman is doing as they marriage them together. I think they have a really good kind of working relationship. I think there's a good open door there between them both.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I want him to be here for a long time because that defense has just been phenomenal since he's been here. It's been top 5, top 10 every year. And now that you have a guy like Kubiak running the offense, I think that could be back up there. And if you're top 10 in both of those categories, you have a legitimate shot. So I don't know. How do you? I'm sure you're excited for Mike Zimmer to be extended.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have Mike Zimmer back long term. He has said that he wants to coach until he's 70 years old. So that gives us, I think, if my math is correct, at least 7 more years that Mike Zimmer can potentially be coaching the Minnesota Vikings. I think he's an excellent coach. I believe he's already the 3rd winningest coach in franchise history. He's done excellent things. There's no question with Mike Zimmer who the leader of the team is. Like, you know that everything is going through him. Decisions are going through Mike Zimmer. I think that he's an excellent coach. I think that the players respect him. I'm really thrilled for this, and I'm thrilled that they're going to be extending Rick Spielman too, because I think that him and Mike Zimmer function together really well as a unit. And you have to have a head coach and a general manager who function as a team. I think they do a really good job of that. So this is a great move for Minnesota.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, guys. I try not to swear a lot on here because I know we want to keep this family-friendly show, but I'm just going to use a phrase that I've heard a million times, and I think it's funny. It's not necessarily like a dick measuring contest between them. Like, a lot of guys, they get in, like, say, they fire a coach, but the GM's been there a little bit, and then they don't get to bring their guy in, or vice versa. They have a coach, but they fire the GM because the draft picks are busts. But then the GM wants to draft his guy, but doesn't have the right coach, blah, blah, blah. They don't have that here. I think there's a very good open line of communication of, okay, let me build defensively what I want. But like this year, somebody called and wanted Stephon Diggs, and they're like, you know what? Fuck it, man. He's a good player, but he wants out. Let's get some value for him. Rick Spielman gets value. He drafts an offensive player first, and then he comes back and he goes, hey, you know what I want to do with our pick? I want to slide back a couple spots and get me a corner. And he's like, yeah, let's fucking do it. You know, you got the star wide receiver. You're good with corners. Let's go. And I think that's a lot to say there between that marriage of those two. So I'm super pumped. I'm sorry. I'm just filibustering because I'm trying to figure out what exactly the details are.
I was going to say, I don't know if they've had the details, but the situation that I'm glad that Minnesota is avoiding is kind of the one that the Washington football team was in a few years ago, where there was a clear split between what the franchise wanted to do and what Mike Shanahan wanted to do. And that was where the franchise, the ownership, was all in on RG3. And Dan Snyder maybe wasn't as sold on Robert Griffin and wanted Kirk Cousins instead. And so you've seen RG3 get into a situation where you have management trying to overstep the coach, and the coach working with a quarterback that maybe didn't necessarily fit his system. And guess what? It didn't work out for Mike Shanahan. It didn't really work out for RG3. The only one that it kind of worked out for was Kirk Cousins. But then the franchise didn't really want Kirk Cousins because what? They didn't want to sign him to a long-term contract. He gets the franchise tag 2 years in a row. That was one whole big mess. I mean, long term, it worked out for Cousins because he gets himself a good deal. He comes to Minnesota. He finally gets himself in a stable franchise with a coach and a GM who believe in him moving forward. But you look at that whole situation that was going on in Washington, and that's just the kind of front office mess that we don't want in Minnesota. And I'm glad that we don't have those issues.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that's behind us, man. The interesting thing that I read, looking at the articles while you're talking about that, is like with him staying here, he could outlast the quarterback, which is Kirk Cousins. They could definitely go in a different direction after this 2 or 3 years that Cousins is up if he doesn't deliver. And Mike Zimmer could still be here. I hope he's still here. But I just want to give a little bit of my opinion on why this is a good deal, because some people don't like it. And I told this in the chat to you guys earlier today. I feel like Viking fans as a whole mostly are good people. That Minnesota nice thing is a real deal. But there's a lot of fans online that just bitch to hear their own voice, and they want to gripe and complain. And we could win a Super Bowl 24-0, and they'd complain because it wasn't 30-0. And I don't like that. And I'm going to give you a little bit of clarity on this. The point that every team goes into in the NFL every year to the season is to win the Super Bowl, right? The Vikings haven't done that yet in 54 whatever years. And that sucks because we've seen a lot of teams win and have success. And you want to feel that because you want to root for that team for whatever reason why you're a fan. But if you're not going to make the Super Bowl and win it every year, you want to at least win and have a chance. And the Vikings are a very winning organization, right? They are a very winning historically franchise. Mike Zimmer is the third winningest coach in Viking history behind Bud Grant and Dennis Green already, and he's only been here 6 years. His current record is 59, 41, and 1. That's 18 game difference. So he could lose every single game this year, and he would still have a winning record. You guys realize that, right? That's how spoiled we've been. And since he's been here, he's only had one losing season, which was the first season. And that's when rookie Teddy Bridgewater took over for Matt Castle, and they were 7-9. So they were right there.
And not to interrupt, because I like the rant that you're on, but you also have to remember that Mike Zimmer inherited a historically bad Vikings franchise coming off.
Wasn't it the defense that was like the worst in franchise history? That 2013 season where that was 2 years before he got there, or I'm sorry, 1 year before he got there. They were 3-13, and they were the worst defensive team the Vikings had ever seen as a team. So that's a solid point, man.
They had only lost more games in franchise history. I think maybe once or twice. Like that was like one of the worst seasons historically of the Minnesota Vikings. Is what Mike Zimmer inherited when he took over this team. So,
and the great thing too about that record I gave you was he's also 2-3 in the playoffs, which means he's had 5 playoff games as a franchise in 6 seasons. Can't really count the first one because it was not every team gets a brand new head coach who goes to the playoffs right the next year. It's a building process. But I like that they won that was my favorite game of the Zimmer era so far, was winning in New Orleans this past year, because everybody could, if he would have tanked, they would have been like, oh, you only won one playoff game because of a fluke play at the end. No, they went in there and straight up beat the shit out of the Saints and outplayed them. And a lot of that had to do with the weird defensive things that was happening, rotating the DNs to D tackles and blah, blah, blah. But he's a good coach. Is he top 10? I think he's right in there for arguably top 10. Is he Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin, or is he an old Bill Parcells? No, he hasn't done anything to get those accolades yet. But there's a consistency with Mike Zimmer that we didn't have as fans for a very long time. You kind of know what you're going to get. But if he can keep morphing with guys like Gary Kubiak, Super Bowl winning head coach, not that long ago, 4 seasons ago, and then taking a guy like Dom Capers to help him modify the defense, like I've said on other shows in recent weeks, I think that shows he's willing to adjust and grow because the game changes. But I don't want the guy to leave, because what do I always say, man? You know what I'm going to say here. If you're going to try to get someone else at any position, what do you need to do? You need to upgrade. Who is out there right now where you're like, it's an instant upgrade over Mike Zimmer? Because there's not a lot of guys who are going to make the defense instantly better because it's already really good. Who's going to make the offense like Kansas City? Who's out there right now? And I can't give you that answer because I don't think they're out there. So I'm a Mike Zimmer homer. I can't help it. I like the guy. I like his attitude. I like everything about him. I like how much of an asshole he is.
Me too.
I love it. So, yeah, Mike Zimmer's agreed to a multi-year contract. It doesn't say much. I did read that he was kind of throwing it out there that about a week or two ago, he was a little bit irked that he hadn't gotten that yet. But I guess it came around full circle.
I'm surprised how long it took for Minnesota to re-sign either him or Rick Speilman to contracts. I knew it was coming. Like, I didn't, in my mind, there was never a situation where they moved on from either of these two. So as a fan, I didn't understand what was taking so long. Because I'm sure that Mike Zimmer wants to be paid accordingly, based on his own personal accomplishments with the team and based on his peers around him. I'm sure that he wanted to have a fair contract, but I don't believe that Mike Zimmer would be trying to hold out to get more money than what he thought he was worth, because Mike Zimmer doesn't perceive me as the kind of coach who really gives a shit if he is the highest paid coach in NFL history, or where he like. I just think that he wanted to be paid fairly for what he's done with the team. So I don't know, but I'm glad that they got it taken care of.
Right now, and I don't know when this post was updated. I'm on a random website. I'm not even going to shout them out because I don't know how credible it is. But it says right before this update here, the contract ends next season, 2021, $10 million. 2019 salary is $5 million. Net worth of $6 million. He's 64 years old. He's got to be worth more than that because he's been in the NFL so long. Yeah, he's making a good amount of money, and I don't. When that we don't even have to talk about coach's salary because it doesn't affect the salary cap, which a lot of people know, but some people don't still to this day for some odd reason. This is just how much the Wills really like this guy. So I think he earned it. I think he earned this contract extension the moment he walked out of there and Kirk Cousins threw a touchdown to Kyle Rudolph in New Orleans. It's like there's no way they're going to fire this dude. Even if we go into San Francisco and get shellacked, which we kind of did, you won a playoff game that you had no business winning because we barely squeaked into the playoffs. But, hey, man, if you can upset them, who knows? Maybe you get lucky and win 3 more in a row, and then you change history forever. So I'm certainly excited that he's here, and I love the guy. I know you love the guy. I know Adam likes him. So we're happy as the Purple People podcast here. But Mike Zimmer will be here for an extended period of time, which is good. I would like to see he's 41 games shy of 100 wins. I'd really like to see him be around long enough to get 100 wins. I think it's possible depending on how long he's here, but it's good news, man. Finally some Viking news to talk about.
As for Rick Speilman, we'll kind of keep it quick since we're coming up on the 46-minute mark here. As for Rick Speilman, we've talked about him a lot on the show. Longtime listeners probably know. I think we're all in general fans of Rick Speilman. We will admit that there have been some hits and misses over the years in terms of drafting players and signing free agents. But I do believe that overall, I think he's had more hits than he's had misses, even though some of the misses have been a little bit more high profile. I'm talking about your Christian Ponders, your Laquan Treadwells of the world. Those are not a good look for Rick, but overall, I do think he's done an excellent job of building the team. You can't give all the credit to just Mike Zimmer. It is Rick Speilman listening to his scouts and his scouting department, going out there and finding the talent like Stephon Diggs, a late round pick that not a lot of people had heard of, who comes in, he's super productive, and then you're able to flip him for more picks, like the Vikings were able to do. So if the Vikings do sign Rick Speilman to a longer contract, I'm all for that as well, too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans get lost on it. It's a great point that you make, and I'm going to piggyback on it just because I think it's a very, very solid point. What people get caught up in is like, well, I want Patrick Mahomes and I want Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, so do I, dude. But the chances of finding that person, it's almost like a crapshoot. And the draft is a lottery, whether you want to admit it is or not. You don't really know if these players are going to fit. Justin Jefferson may come to us and be a freaking stud and a Hall of Famer, or he could bust here, and if he would have went to the San Francisco 49ers, he would have been legendary. We'll never know because they can only play where they land, and you go off base of scheme and personnel and coordinators and blah, 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 blah. All these other variables come in. Where I agree with you, and I agree with pretty much everything you said, is what Rick has whiffed on in the first and second round, he's made up for later on with undrafted free agents or mid-round to late-round guys that have shined. Adam Thielen giving him a shot, Stephon Diggs. I'm trying to think of another late round guy that we have. He does a lot of good stuff in free agency too, like the kicking woes. You go out and you have this horrible luck with kickers for 2 or 3 years, and now we fix the holder and the kicker situation for what looks to be the next 3 or 4 years. Awesome. He can adjust on the fly, but the point I'm trying to make here, not to talk too long, is we have to keep expectations real. The draft is a freaking lottery, number one. And these guys, not everybody makes solid picks all the time, and that's okay. But the guys that he has hit on have been phenomenal. Harrison Smith. Kyle Rudolph's been here for 10 years, if you can believe that or not. Anthony Harris we picked up. I mean, that's another like under the radar kind of signing deal. Eric Kendricks we got for a steal. Dalvin Cook we got in the second round. I mean, the guy can draft some blue chip players, and we know that. And that's what you're banking on. So you can't just automatically go to the negative without highlighting all the good too. And I think there's a super good 50-50 balance there. And as long as they keep having winning records and they can still keep finding talent, they're still going to win games. So Rick Speilman, I don't mind it. I think he works well with Zimmer.
Underneath Rick Speilman, the Vikings have been doing a really good job of drafting and developing their own talent.
Mm-hmm. Especially defensively.
Defensively, they've been especially good at drafting and developing their own talent, which is awesome when you can take that middle to late round pick and have them turn into a productive top tier starter.
Absolutely.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, there's just been so many good guys. I mean, even looking back, the best example right now is everybody thought that Danielle Hunter's contract, 2 years ago was stupid. And he's the fastest person ever to 50 sacks. Like, these guys know what they're doing. Sometimes they take risks, like kind of like a broker or whatever you call it for the stock market. Yeah, they're going to take risks and some are going to fail. But when it hits, you sure do love the luxury. Like I love Danielle Hunter. I think he's better than Everson Griffin ever was. And that's not saying that Everson Griffin was bad. He's just a monster of a player, and he's setting records. And it turns out that these guys who do this for a living nonstop full time for decades and decades, shocking spoiler alert here, but they kind of know what they're doing. So I think it's cool. And like, just to reiterate my point earlier, I'll wind this up, is if you're going to get rid of the guy, that's fine. If you can't stand him or you think it's time to move on, that's cool. But you better upgrade, because God forbid you have to go through 3 or 4 years of purgatory, because then your whole franchise has to reset. And then you become the Cleveland Browns, and we don't want that. So
I just think there are fans who are not happy with anyone ever who's in the front office. And that's okay. I mean, you can
be miserable. That's fine if you choose to be.
There's nothing wrong with holding the team to the standard of, you haven't won a Super Bowl. You need to get it done. I don't feel like these guys are getting it done. I'll never fault people for having that opinion. I personally am okay with Mike Zimmer and Rick Speilman having long-term contract extensions.
Sure.
Yep.
And the biggest thing about that too, man, I don't feel like the Vikings are settling. I feel like this is genuinely a good thing between both parties, or all three parties, right? The Vikings as a team, Rick Speilman and Mike Zimmer. So congrats to Coach Zimmer. Congrats in advance to what seems to be another extension for Rick Speilman. And I'm really excited, man. Football's almost here. Like you guys heard in the video. You guys heard in the video, today is when the rookies show up, I believe. I think 5 days later, the veterans show up. So that's really cool. They're going to try to be safe. Those procedures look really cool in the video. But football is around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. And that means we're going to be happy, because we need sports. Also, if you're an NBA fan, that bubble they have down in Florida, the NBA is kicking back up next week. So sports are coming back. It's going to be weird and janky and odd because of this virus, but it's going to happen. So
right on.
Pump for it. I want to share with you guys this because I thought it was really cool. This is Kyle West's page now, and he's actually developing some cool stuff for us here at the podcast. I'm certainly going to buy a couple of things because I always support my friends, and you should too. But he's making Purple People podcast shirts here at Phantasm Digital. But he can make pretty much anything you want, and he's also a very good photographer and has his own his own stills and pictures that he can print on basically anything you want.
Yeah, pretty much anything you're looking for.
You should go
put
here
a link.
Check that out.
Yeah, I just put a link up on the Facebook page of a Purple People podcast logo. So you guys should check it out if you want to get it. You can get it on T-shirts. I was showing you guys some of the stuff in the chat. I think the water bottles and the mugs and stuff, I think it looks really cool on. So yeah, check it out, and hopefully there's something there that you like.
Yeah, we don't try to bombard you. I try to mention that as much as I can at the end of shows. We don't bombard you like all these corny ass repetitive YouTube channels that are like, subscribe, notification bell. Like, I think that's super ingenuine, and I think that's just like forcing people to want to like you. If you're here, and we appreciate you. And if you made it this far down the rabbit hole, now you can support us individually. But yeah, this is Kyle West's Phantasm Digital page. You can buy prints there. Like you said, mugs, shirts, shower curtains, all kinds of cool stuff. And you support small business, so we are all about that. Another small business we use is the vikingage.com. That's where our own Adam Carlson works. And if you find an article from him on there and you click on it, you can comment below and you'll actually help him make some money and pay bills. The more views and clicks that he gets, the better his numbers are. He gets paid more. We all know how that works. So go help him out. And that's no offense to Kyle West over here, but if you just go to the Viking Age and just type a letter under an Adam Carlson article, it doesn't cost you anything. So it's really easy to do. You should do that. Adam works for Undead Walking. If you're a Walking Dead fan, you should check that out as well. We've all got our things that we're into on the side. Kyle West does photography. Adam Carlson does the Viking stuff and The Walking Dead. And this is another thing that he writes for because he's a really good writer. So if you want to check that out and support him, there you go. I do music and random stuff that I rant about on my Instagram here. So if you follow me, it's nc.dog.dude. And if you want to say what's up and be friends on there, you can. I don't really have like an active YouTube channel, so this is the only place you can find me because you don't need to know what I'd be doing on my side. So just keep that to myself. But yeah, that's about it for the show this week. If you like the show and you watch this later after we're done going live, give us a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel if you want. If you do that, it'll let you know when we go live. I try for the most part to post on Facebook to let you know when we're going to go in advance because I know some guys like the advance notice. So I'll try to keep doing that. But that's about it, man. I'll stop being an advertisement for you guys and let Kyle West have some closing thoughts before we round this show out.
Hey, I think we are all looking forward to the return of sports and Vikings football in general. Off-season's been a bit of a drag, but we're looking forward to, hopefully, fingers crossed, the regular season happening soon, so we can get to some football. I think we could all use some football right now.
Yeah, we need it. We need it back. I think if the UFC can have people beating the crap out of each other, we can have guys throwing and catching balls and tackling, so I'm excited for it. Thank you to everyone who watches this episode. And if you comment below and all that fun stuff, stay safe during this weird time in history because it's just a madhouse out there. But we'll try to get back to you next week. I am actually on the road again. I'm a traveling circus of a man. I'll be in San Antonio, Texas for an extended period of time. So if you are down in that area, you'll see me with this getup in a hotel room for a while doing some stuff for work. But let me know. And until then and until next time, we appreciate you guys. Stay safe and stay classy, Minnesota.